Hi everyone. Today I thought I would talk about musicals because I am a massive musical theatre fan, and during this time period I'm just really missing going to the theatre and seeing a good show. So I thought I would talk about my 5 favourite musicals. I've always been pretty into musicals, but where I grew up I didn't really get opportunity to go to them. Sometimes they tour and come to like my local theatre and I'd go on like a school trip or something. I remember one of the first trips that I sort of did independently when I was like 16 I think, or 17, with my friends. We went to London for the weekend and we saw 2 shows, one of which is actually on my list. And nowadays I'm very lucky in the fact that I live about half an hour away by train from central London, so I can go to shows pretty much whenever I want. I did think when I first moved here that I would be doing that all the time. Financially I can't afford that, unfortunately, because trust me, I would love to, but I do try and get to stuff as and when I can. I'll just get into it. I think when I start you'll see the sort of shows that I'm into. I would say that the first 3 of these are ones that I really enjoy, and the last 2 are ones that I like avidly follow, and I'll talk a little bit about when I've seen each of them as well, and if I know the cast, like who I saw. So I'm gonna do these from like the bottom of my top ones to my very top. So at number 5 I've got Everybody's Talking About Jamie. This is just such a fun show. It follows the story of Jamie, who wants to go to his school prom in drag, and the sort of implications with that. It's based on a real story, and there's also a documentary which I've watched as well, which I would definitely recommend. It's really interesting and it's just such an uplifting and inspiring story, and the songs from it are really fun as well. If you like want to feel uplifted, then I would definitely recommend listening to the soundtrack, although there is a few songs on there that are quite sad. So I've seen this once in theatre, and when I saw it, John McCrea was Jamie, and then I actually saw the full production again because my cinema puts on sometimes like theatre shows that have been recorded and then broadcast in cinemas. It's probably quite common, but I went to see it there because it was just cheaper than going and seeing it again in the theatre. But I would love to see it now. They've had a couple of cast changes since this. I know Leighton Williams was Jamie for a while. I've just looked through the programme, and Courtney Bowman, who is in a musical that might come up later on this list, was in it as Fatima, and also Vinegar Strokes, the drag queen from Drag Race UK season 1, was in it, which I already knew, but it's weird to like think back and think that I saw her in that and just not realising then she was on TV. And number 4 is Matilda the musical. I don't have a programme to show for that one because they're at home. Matilda will always have a soft spot in my heart. It was my first ever musical that I was like obsessed with, and it was my absolute favourite. I would have put it at number 1 on this list even like as recently as a year ago. Matilda is based on the story of Matilda by Roald Dahl, which was one of my favourite books and my favourite film when I was little as well. It's just all comes together in this really inspiring, amazing musical. The children in it, I'm always so in awe of how talented they are. So I've seen Matilda twice. The first time I saw it was on that trip I mentioned to London when I was 16, 17, and we saw Elise, I think her name was, and then I saw it again when I was maybe 19 or 20, so like, oh god, at least 4 years ago now. I'm not sure who I saw as Matilda then, actually. I'm shocked that I haven't gone and seen it since I've lived here, actually. It's also one that I would definitely recommend if you have kids or young people in your family, but also just for everyone. It's so family friendly, and it's quite special that it's a story that's had so much meaning at so many different points in my life, so that's why it had to go onto this list. Coming in at number 3 is something that I went to see in that final weekend before everything went to shit, really, and that is Come From Away. I had wanted to see this for the absolute longest time, so I'm so glad that I finally got to see it. It's based on another true story. It's based on the time of 9/11 when that happened. Obviously there was so many more planes that were meant to be landing in New York, and they all got diverted, and a whole load of them ended up on this island in Newfoundland, Canada, called Gander, and it's basically about the community there and how they come together, and also all these people that have suddenly arrived from all over the world as they've all come from away. I was just looking in the programme to see the actual statistics, and it says the way 10,000 residents of Newfoundland town of Gander welcomed over 6,500 strangers into their midst for 5 days when 38 planes were diverted there after 9/11. So yeah, it follows the story of that and follows a lot of different individual storylines from different people's perspectives who were there, and they're actually all based on real stories. It's super interesting to read up on the actual people behind the characters. You can definitely listen to the soundtrack of this all the way through and basically get the whole story, because I know you can do that with a lot of musicals, but sometimes you miss like some of the context behind the songs. But I feel because so much of the dialogue in this is in the songs, you can basically listen to the soundtrack all the way through and get the full story without really missing anything. So I would definitely recommend doing that. I listened to it the day after I went to see it, and it felt like I'd seen it twice in 2 days. And in terms of cast, I am not sure off the top of my head of like all the people who starred in it, but I know that they had like recently brought in a new cast. I know that I saw that, so for context, I saw it in March 2020, so it was with that full cast, and I don't think we had any alternates from what I know. But yeah, so glad that I finally got to see this one, and I'm 100% going to be going and seeing this one again. Me and my friend who I went with have already talked about it. That will be on the list for as soon as this is over. Okay, so the top two, I feel very conflicted about what to put in at number one, because, well, I know what number one is really, but I have different reasons for loving both of them, and they're sort of like my equal number one, but I'll talk about that a little bit more when I get to it. So what I'm putting in at number two is Six. This show, I would say that this is my favourite soundtrack because it's so listenable. It's sort of like poppy, which fits in with the premise. The 6 wives of Henry VIII have all come together in a girl band, and they're sort of competing to see who should be the lead singer, and they do that by arguing about who had the worst time being the wife of Henry VIII, and they will tell their story through a song. So you have 6 songs from each of the 6 queens, and then you have a couple of ones where they are all singing together, and it's sort of staged as like a concert, and it's amazing. And I think it's because I just am such a like sucker for pop music. I love Little Mix. I've always loved girl bands, so this is definitely my sort of thing. But the actual storyline as well, it's sort of very reclaiming, it's very feminist, just such like girl power vibes, and you come out of it feeling really empowered, and I just love that. So in terms of cast for this one, I feel like this is one of the ones that I have followed the cast on social media since finding out about it and becoming obsessed with it, and I followed a lot of people who have been in the show beforehand, and that's how I feel like I've become really immersed in the theatre world over the past couple of months, just from following these people who used to be in Six, who I will never see in the show because they've been and gone, but then I'm like, oh well, she's in this now and she's in this now. But in terms of who I saw in it, I actually saw quite a lot of the alternates, which was I really enjoyed, and I have such massive respect for alternates and swings, because they have to learn like so many parts. It's mad. In Six, there's 3 alternates who have first cover for 2 queens each, but they do often do other ones as well. They're like their second covers. And then there is one girl who I will speak about, who is understudy and dance captain, and yeah, well, I'll get to it anyway. So I saw Zara as Aragon, CJ as Berlin, Natalie as Seymour, Lexi as Cleves, Sophie as Howard, and Colette as Parr. And Colette, who I was just saying is the understudy and dance captain, and oh my god, I literally stan her. Like, honestly, she was amazing as Parr. Then when I realised that she is the understudy and she can be called on to do like any role, and she's done all of them. She has done, my ticket just fell out. She has done all 6. She is good at all of them, which is mind-blowing to me. And like, to have to learn all of that, not just the songs, but like the choreography and the dialogue for all of them, like massive respect. All of the queens in it are just amazing. My favourite queens are, I do really like Berlin, but I feel like that's really stereotypical. But Berlin, I really like Howard. All You Want to Do is probably my favourite song in it. I'm not sure, because if I want a ballad, then I'll go for Parr's song, I Don't Need Your Love. I don't know, but yeah, I'm just obsessed with this. I was meant to be seeing it on the 29th of April, not happening now, and I've got tickets to see it in tour in Birmingham in July. I don't know if it'll happen, but I know that it's showing until January 2021, so if I don't get to see it on tour, then hopefully I will be able to see it at some point before it closes. Also, what I love about this is the Arts Theatre is like so small and intimate, so it just feels like a really special experience. I sat second row when I went to see it, and if you're down there you will get like eye contact and from the queens, which is sounds quite intimidating, but it really made the like showing like so much fun. Okay, so the last thing, my favourite ever could get emotional speaking about it. I don't know if you can see it behind me. Waitress. As I sort of hinted at, when I first went to see this, I didn't really know what it was about. I was with a friend and we wanted to go and see something, and it's quite funny because we were torn between Come From Away, Six or Waitress, and I think this one had the best tickets, so we went to see it, although funny that all three of them are on my list. And it was just amazing. I fell in love with it. I became obsessed with it. I followed like all of the cast on social media. To summarize, I don't want to give too much away because I feel like the first time I went to see it I didn't know too much, and it's so much more than what you would think when you see it. Like, it's funny but it's so sad. It has probably my favourite musical song, it is my favourite musical song, She Used To Be Mine. Amazing, incredible, although I do love what Bacon can do as well. I just love the like ballad songs in this. It basically follows the story of Jenna, our main character, who is a waitress in a pie shop, and she is married to a guy called Earl who is, for want of a better word, abusive. I mean, he is abusive, he's horrible, and her dream is to own her own little pie shop, so she plans to enter this pie making competition to hopefully win some money. But there are some other things that happen along the way, and she has two friends in the pie shop that she works in, Dawn and Becky, who are just, Dawn, probably my favorite character, and there's just so much more, but I don't want to give too much away. It's just amazing. Again, very uplifting, very just powerful, moving, but it's funny as well. There are so many funny moments in it. I didn't expect to laugh as much as I did. I didn't expect to cry. Like, honestly, all the feels. As you probably saw at the start, I have several programs for this. I have seen it 4 times. It's funny because every time I've seen it I've had a fully different cast for the 3 main girls. So I've seen it 3 times in the West End and once on Broadway, because when I went to New York in November I was like, this is the one that I'm seeing. I knew I wanted to see a show, I didn't know what, and then after I saw Waitress in London I was like, this is it, this is the one. The first time I saw it in the West End, I saw it with Lucy Jones as Jenna, Marisha Wallace as Becky, and Laura Baldwin as Dawn. Honestly, they are like my ultimate trio. The second time I saw it was in Broadway, and I saw Jordan Sparks as Jenna, Natasha Yvette Williams as Becky, who came to London to beat Becky for a very short amount of time, and then Caitlin Houlihan as Dawn. That was amazing, such an incredible experience to go and see a show on Broadway, which has been a dream of mine for ages, and the fact that it was Waitress as well, and it was our last night in New York, and it was just everything. Then I saw it in London again with Olivia Moore, the understudy. I'm really glad that I did get to go and see her. I really wanted to see Sarah, who was the 3rd Jenna, but I never got around to seeing her, and I'm very upset about that. But yeah, I feel very lucky that I got to see Olivia. And then I had Hannah Taunton as Dawn. I had Sandra Marvin as Becky. And the last time I got around to seeing it, I had Sarah Bareilles, who wrote it, who is incredible, as Jenna. I'm so glad that I got to see that, and I didn't know obviously that it was going to be my last time seeing it at the time, so it feels special that she was there the last time I saw it. And I had Evelyn Hoskins as Dawn and Rosemary Nkrumah as Becky that time I saw it, so I've seen like 16 people play those roles.
Believe it or not, I do actually have an A-level in maths, but obviously 4 times 3 is 12, not 16, so I saw 12 people play those roles. I'm literally so stupid.
So I'm very surprised there was no overlap, but it just was the way it worked out with the swings that I had and stuff. Lucy Jones, honestly, my favourite voice on the West End, my favourite West End actress. She is just incredible, and I'm so incredibly sad that I never got to see her as Jenna again. The thing is, the first time I saw it I didn't know what, it sounds silly, but like impact it was going to have on me, and how much I was going to love it, and how big of a part of my life this musical was going to become. I have seen Lucy Jones, like I followed her when she was on X Factor. I saw her on the X Factor tour back in the day, and she's just so lovely. Like, I watch her Instagram lives at the moment during this time that she's been doing quite a lot, and she's just a really lovely person as well. So I don't think I mentioned, but Waitress was meant to be closing in July, and I didn't have tickets for closing night, but it was something that I talked about with my friend. I would definitely have gone like multiple times between now and July. I already had tickets that, like the date's been and gone, that I missed for sitting row D for Lucy, which was the dream. So it was meant to be closing in July, and then obviously the theatre's closed, and then they announced like 2 or 3 weeks ago that it was done forever. That is just so sad. I like cried. I was so upset about it. Just they didn't get like a proper end, and they didn't even know that that was going to be their last time. Like obviously it's sad when any show ends, and it's obviously very sad that the theatres are closed at the moment and it's a shit time for everyone. But I was just like, they played their last show and they didn't know that it was their last show, and they're just, it's very unceremonious and it's just so sad.
Also, when they played the last show, I absolutely loved Sarah. However, Lucy was meant to be coming back like literally 2 days after the theatre closed, and her last show was like so far in advance of that. She just thought she was going off for a few weeks while Sarah took over, and she was meant to be coming back, and then she never got to come back, and that is just, it's too much.
So hopefully they'll do some sort of thing to give them a proper send-off, proper goodbye. I know that they're touring. I have tickets to the tour, so I will see it at least once more, but I don't know who the cast is going to be in the tour. I mean, it would be the absolute dream if it was Lucy. I also really like Laura Baldwin, who was Dawn the first time I saw it. They would be like my two people that I would want to see the most again, and David Hunter, who is Dr. Pomatter. I love them, but we'll see. Get tickets to the tour, see it. It's coming to the Netherlands, so if you speak Dutch and want to go and see it there, then see it there. Yeah, it's just incredible. Definitely listen to the soundtrack. So those are my top 5 musicals. Let me know in the comments if you have any of these musicals in common with me, if you love any of them, or let me know what musicals you would recommend based on this. If you'd be interested in a couple of other musical themed videos, then let me know. I was thinking about doing one about musicals that I like to see or musicals that I wish I'd seen, and let me know if it's something you'd be interested in. But other than that, stay safe. I will speak to you again soon. Bye.